Hello scholars, welcome. Mr. Hinkle here. Today we're talking about primary productivity of marine life in the marine environment. So our objectives are to introduce biological primary productivity and then discuss the limiting factors, light and nutrients in the marine environment. So primary production is the creation of new organic matter from inorganic substrates. It forms the base of marine food webs in the ocean. So how does life reproduce? Well, life needs to capture, store, and transmit energy. At the base of that, we have photosynthesizers, organisms that use carbon dioxide and water to produce sugar and oxygen. The sugar here, this is the energy. Now, photosynthesizers are considered the base of the food web. In the ocean, photosynthesizers are the primary producers. This happens, here's the marine environment, my favorite one. Okay. Here I have drawn the marine provinces, surface of the ocean, and the sun. There's carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that's absorbed into the water. The sun shines down every single day. These are the necessary ingredients for photosynthesis to occur. Photosynthesis accounts for about 95% of primary productivity, but special shout out to chemosynthesis, which are certain populations that exist around the mid-ocean ridge in the bottom of the ocean where no sunlight can penetrate, and instead this unique suite of organisms in these communities has evolved to use hydrogen sulfides to reproduce or to produce energy. So we've got carbon dioxide and water plus hydrogen sulfide yields sugar and sulfur compounds. These are scientifically termed hydrothermal vents. They're also called black smokers because they emit black smoke that comes out of them. Awesome, possibly where life started, but not the majority of primary productivity. So the other side of photosynthesis, let's go back to that conversation, is respiration. This is the balance by animals, by marine life, by animals within the pelagic and the benthic environments. So photosynthesizers use carbon dioxide and water to produce oxygen and sugar. Respiration uses oxygen and sugar and releases carbon dioxide into this balance of the primary producers and the consumers. So, circle of life, exchange of energy in the marine environment is happening like this. Let's go back to production. So, terminology, we've got gross primary production. This is the total amount of organic matter that is created. But the organisms that are creating this energy also have a fair amount of respiration. So we have net primary production. When we're thinking about how much organic material is created in the ocean, this is the thing we're using. Net primary production equals the gross primary production minus the respiration. Okay, we see why we introduced all those terms there. If we look at net primary production globally, we can see some patterns emerge. Reds are high, blues are low. Low at the poles, low in temperate regions, or tropical regions, I'm sorry, high in temperate regions. Okay. This is going to come in later, but what we see is, right here what jumps out is that primary productivity varies by latitude. It also varies through time. So this is a common thing, I think, when we're thinking about distribution of anything on a global scale. Most things, entities, events, whatever it may be, are unequally distributed through time and space. Globally, it's by latitude. Through time, it's seasonally. So factors that are affecting primary productivity. Well, it's cold at the poles and it's warm in the equator, but temperature is not a limiting factor. Primary productivity needs sunlight. For 6 months out of the year, there's no sunlight at each of the poles, so there's no primary productivity there. Sunlight is really important. No sunlight, no photosynthesis. So light is one of our two major factors. The other is nutrients. Let's talk about light. So light happens in the upper 200 meters of the water column. It's called the euphotic zone. This is where photosynthesis occurs. At some point, the photosynthesizers are also respiring, and the amount of respiration equals the amount of photosynthesis. This is called the compensation depth. Respiration happens all the way down into the deep ocean. Photosynthesis only happens for a little bit, so we need light in the euphotic zone for primary productivity. Nutrients exist. We can see nutrient concentration is pretty low higher up, and then we go deep and it's relatively constant, but nutrients are going to exist down at the bottom of the ocean. That's because our nutrients are going to be in the form of nitrates and nitrites through a series of chemical reactions. When organisms die, they settle to the bottom, they decompose, their leftovers become nutrients. So here is the conundrum. Light is at the top of the water column, nutrients are at the bottom. We need these two things in order for primary productivity to occur. How, then, do we get them to meet? Through the process of upwelling, oceanic circulation. So in certain coastal environments, because of oceanic circulation patterns, when we have water moving in a certain direction, Ekman spiral and Ekman transport will create gaps that cause deep water to rise up. This will bring nutrients up to the surface. So oceanic circulation solves the problem of how we get nutrients that live at the bottom of the ocean up to the top so that organisms can use it. And what organisms are we talking about? Well, specifically, marine phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are the primary producers. Various species of marine algae. There's other primary producers, but this is the big one. We'll talk about this in types of primary producers in another lecture. So to review our introduction, primary productivity is the creation of organic matter. It's basically the basis of the food web reproducing. And for that to occur, there needs to be light and nutrients. How we get nutrients from the bottom of the ocean up to where the light at the top of the ocean is through the process of upwelling. Now, when you get nutrients and you get light together, you can have reproduction of our primary producers, leading to net primary production, forming the basis of the food web that feeds all marine organisms. So, marine biology, primary production, light, and nutrients. Thank you so much. I'll see you again.